we got to talk a little bit here as we wrap up the show tonight. We got to talk about the Indiana Hoosiers. This topic was originally going to be on the heels of IU ending their losing streak to Purdue. We didn't have a podcast last week, but it's still relevant today. Are the Indiana Hoosiers back? Now, we made the caveat before the show started, what does back mean? Because obviously, when you think of it in terms of IU historically, it'd be championship contender, and the answer to that is no. But we're, as far as being competitive, that's kind of more or less what back means. Because, right now, they're 16-5. They're 7-4 in the Big Ten. As I mentioned, they snapped their 9-game losing streak against Purdue, and they're only a game and a half out of the top spot in the Big Ten. So they are, with a good end of their season, could be up near the top of the Big Ten, which is, pretty crazy to think about. As far as being competitive, I think that's, where they're starting to get back to. In 2015, 2016, they beat Purdue. They were last. It was their last Big Ten regular season title and their last NCAA tournament appearance. They made the Sweet 16 last year, and I think that's a realistic expectation for a program of Indiana's prestige. We've made the comparison before to Michigan football, where it's a fan base that thinks that it's still the 70s and 80s, and it's not the 70s and 80s anymore. You want to see them get back to being competitive, but they're not at the championship caliber. I mean, heck, Michigan was back in the, in
90s.
Michigan
won a national championship back in
and I was just going to say Michigan this year, even though they made the college football playoff, show that they aren't near the caliber of actually winning a championship. That
which is why Jim Harbaugh will accept the Minnesota Vikings position on Wednesday.
Maybe. We'll see.
They're flying him in, and he has given the Michigan football staff the entire week off, and tomorrow's National Signing Day.
Well,
yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I think the standard would be that, though, 2016, where IU, made the tournament, they beat Purdue, they were the regular season champs of the Big Ten. I think that's something that, is kind of the next step. If you're trying to get back in your IU, that's the next step to come back and be kind of at least somewhat of what you used to be. And so, you look at it this season, they haven't had any tournament appearances since that appearance in 2016, and they haven't finished above 500 in the Big Ten in any of the seasons between then and now. So, in 2021, 2022, they beat Purdue, so check. They are 7-4 in the conference. Now, 5 of their last 9 games are against ranked opponents. They do play Illinois at Assembly Hall on Saturday, so that's kind of the first.
At IU?
Yeah.
Okay, because Illinois
That's
also...
true, yeah. They also have an Assembly Hall. So now you got me curious because I'm thinking I'm wrong, but I'm 95% positive it's at IU. So
I think their Assembly Hall changed the name.
Yeah, maybe. ESPN does project them as an 8th seed in the tournament. And honestly, even realistically, let's say IU loses all 5 games against those ranked opponents, but wins the other 4. That's 20 and 10. So that still should put you in the tournament, especially being IU. Well,
especially coming from the Big Ten.
Right. So that's looking good that may happen as well. They're not ranked, but they are receiving votes. So that's, going in the right direction. Obviously, if they beat Illinois, feel like they'll be ranked. Now, numbers, looking into the numbers this season, they're second in block shots. Only Michigan State has more. Only 2 teams. They're one of the only 2 teams with Michigan State being, having triple digit blocks this season. They're 3rd in field goal percentage. They're 3rd in points. They're 4th in steals in the Big Ten. All improvements on last season. Trace Jackson Davis, is tied as the second leading scorer in the conference. Race Thompson and Pitt transfer Xavier Johnson have also stepped up around him as well, which, when we did the IU preview at the beginning of the season, I got all this flack from IU fans, saying I didn't know what I was talking about, saying IU wasn't going to be this, tournament team, amazing team. That's basically what I said, was if we didn't know who was going to step up. Race Thompson was going to have to, fill a bigger role, which he has. Xavier Thompson stepped up. They gave They gave Jackson Davis the pieces around him that he needed.
Well,
They're
for example, Trace Jackson Davis was essentially out that entire Purdue game.
right, exactly. So
And it forced other guys to step up, and it showed them that, hey, look, we can actually do this. It's not just him.
right. So as far as them being back, I'd say no, as far just because I want to see more of what they can do in this stretch. Because if they go 4-5 and not really back into the tournament, but like if they really don't show out this last month of the season, even if they beat Illinois, if they beat Illinois and one other team, I think I'm in. I think I'm ready to say like IU's back to being competitive, which is good. But I'm like almost there, but not quite there. So don't come for my head, IU fans. I'm sorry, I'm not ready to quite get there yet, but I'm right here. I'm right on the edge. I think they're looking in very good shape, and I definitely have a much more of an opinion of them, a good opinion of them than I did at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that assessment. I think they are on the cusp of being competitive again. They are no longer a doormat in the Big Ten. I'm not 100% ready to say yes, they're back to being competitive and should be considered for the upper half of the Big Ten. When you pulled the upset on Purdue, but you've lost to Penn State. You beat up on Maryland, but everybody's beating up on Maryland right now. I need to see consistency. I'm still seeing the team that blew a lead against Wisconsin and just let Wisconsin then steamroll them. You beat Ohio State. The verdict's still out for me on Ohio State, to be honest, as well. I feel like they're middle of the upper pack in the Big Ten. And that's where I think IU can be right now. But like we asked the question, I think I said to you off air, it's like the question was, is IU back? And I'm like, there's different levels of back.
Right.
There's, our realistic standpoint of back to being competitive. Are they back to being competitive? Or are they the brainwashed candy striper idea of back where they're hanging a banner this year? And are they back to being competitive? They are right there on the cusp. And as of right now, I would say yes, but I do need to see more. Are they back in terms of hanging banners? No, they are not back in terms of hanging banners. But props to Mike Woodson. He's getting this team to play differently and believe in themselves, and they're actually playing defense for a change. So that's good. But yeah, it's the confidence is rising within this team because they know that they can do it without Trace Davis Jackson. And that's the big thing for them moving, or Trace Jackson Davis. That's the big thing for them moving forward. They need to have these role players need to have confidence in their role and not just focus on TJD. So, but for them to see it actually happen with him on the bench in foul trouble against Purdue, I think that was a huge confidence booster. I will say this: Purdue fans will be watching closely to those ranked games that they still have and honestly rooting for IU outside of the matchup against Purdue, because, those upper echelon teams in the Big Ten, for them losing that helps Purdue out right now. But they're close to being back fully to being competitive. We're not hanging banners. We're being competitive.
Yeah, looking at their ranked matchups, they have Illinois. It is at home.
Okay.
They are at Michigan State on February 12th. They're at home against Wisconsin, which, I mean, you said they were up on Wisconsin. If they can find a way
I believe they were up. I know that by the end of the game, it was not pretty, and IU fans were like, here we go again.
Yeah. It's a stretch.
Oh no, we suck again.
So they have a three, basically from, in this middle week in February, they've got at Michigan State, Wisconsin, and at Ohio State. So that's going to be a brutal stretch. If they can get through that, then they'll be in good shape. So I'd say if you could go even 1-2, it's just don't lose all three games. You'd be happy
Yeah.
with that?
Yeah, I feel like honestly, I feel like the game that
and then their last ranked.
I feel like the game that can say a lot for them moving forward is Illinois.
Yeah, because that'll set the tone for the last little bit of the year.
Because Illinois plays differently than Wisconsin. Wisconsin, if you don't shoot yourself in the foot, you can beat them. Purdue shot themselves in the foot against Wisconsin, and Wisconsin's beatable. The style that Illinois plays, I mean, it's especially with Kofi Coburn. That's a man down there, and it's going to be interesting to watch TJD in that matchup because he did not fare well against Purdue's bigs. So it'll be interesting how well does he perform in that game, and if he's in foul trouble again, who steps up? Because the hero of the Purdue IU game was Robert Finney, and he's currently injured. So it'll be interesting to see who could step up in that role and put the team on their shoulders.